right, hello everyone. Today I have with me this very beautiful woman, Amanda Noga. Amanda Noga, first of all, has been my friend for over 10 years.
Long time.
Long time. And we have been on quite a journey together over the years. And today I brought her in to talk about some really important things. So she is an expert in Ayurveda. She's been studying it for a very long time and has made many trips to India to study under a lady there. And today I brought her in to talk more about what we have been talking about for the past few months, and about the feeling of being switched on and running on our adrenals. And I wanted to ask her a few tips on how to use Ayurveda to help us slow down and use it as self-care. Amanda, I'll just tell you a little bit more about her. She is the founder of Yoga Alchemy, founder of Karma Collab, which is a not-for-profit organization that helps girls in India go to school. Very beautiful. Check it out if you can. And she also is the co-founder of the Flow Festival in WA. So she's amazing, doing amazing things in the world. And I'll let her tell you a little bit more about herself.
Yeah, it has been quite a journey over the last 10 years.
Yes.
So we met when we were first both learning how to be yoga teachers. And it feels like a lifetime ago. So yeah, we've both been teaching for that whole kind of 10-year period.
10 years, yep.
Teaching yoga, and now I've kind of come into teaching yoga and Ayurveda. And I'm super passionate about it. I could talk all day about Ayurveda, and really yoga comes under the umbrella of Ayurveda, so they're all kind of mixed into one thing. And I guess to give an overview for those of you that might not be familiar, Ayurveda is the world's oldest health and healing modality. So you could say that all of the traditional medicines and holistic medicine came out of Ayurveda. From traditional Chinese medicine to Eastern medicine, all of it kind of was starting, as Ayurveda, which, is potentially 5,000 or more years old. So super old, and has been like continuously evolving and changing over that period. So it's the only modality that supports all aspects of our life and has been continuously in use for that amount of time.
So fascinating.
It's so cool. And the whole thing about Ayurveda is that we are seeking a balance point, or like continuously shifting our balance point and knowing where that is, and it covers our whole life. So if you think of Ayurveda as an umbrella, under that umbrella we've got our diet, we've got sleep, our yoga practice, our lifestyle practice, self-care, work, relationships, sexuality, the whole thing. So it's a super useful framework, and something that I hope really doesn't get lost. And that's kind of my passion, is to bring these teachings from Ayurveda out of the kind of mystery that they are currently in, and make it super doable and accessible for everybody, because it's so useful, it's so helpful.
Yeah, that's so awesome. I've been delving in and out of Ayurveda over the years, and it's just such a practical tool to use to help us in our day-to-day life. And so leading into that, how can we use Ayurveda to help us when we're feeling stressed, overwhelmed, when we feel anxious? What can we do to slow down with Ayurveda?
So I guess it's kind of a constant practice. It's something that we can incorporate into literally everything that we do. So if we're talking about the way that we set up our schedule, for example, this is a really hot topic, because I feel, most of us are feeling kind of bogged down by the schedule, and almost like the schedule is something that imposes on our life and our freedom. And in fact, our schedule should be something that supports us and helps us to get all of the shit done that we want to get done in the world. And it should support us in that way and be sustainable in that way. So this is something I go into in parts to you, but basically there are all of these cycles going on continuously, whether it's the cycle of the year, the seasons, the moon cycle, the weekly cycle, the daily cycle, our circadian rhythms, our hormonal cycle. So Ayurveda teaches us how to make sense of all of those different cycles and create a sustainable day-to-day life that is in harmony with nature. Because it's all about, like, for example, on a daily level, syncing up with the cycles of the day and the night. That's really simple. So literally following the flow of energy, where our energy peaks at the peak of the day, like around, those hours from like 10 a.m. till 2 p.m. versus as our energy shifts and comes down, we should be slowing down at nighttime as the moon rises. So we're tapping into that lunar energy rather than the solar energy.
This is so important, because it is in our day and age when we have so much technology and we have lights, and we end up not using that. We can stay up so late and we're on our computers, we're working till late, and this is something that I've had to really notice. Such a big thing when I stayed up late, was on my computers too long, that actually was causing more stress in my body. And so this has been something I not really into. Schedules has not been my strong suit. So really using we've talked about, to use that incorporate that into my day-to-day life has been so helpful, to like really harness that midday energy to get lots of work done, but then also honoring that downward flow for the evening and not having to do as much in the evening has been super beneficial in my life.
Well, in our like modern age life, we've disconnected from a lot of natural rhythms, including this one of the sun and the moon, which is probably our most important, being that it's something that happens every single day. I do love to incorporate the weekly cycle, which has like different planetary alignments, and so different like energy and flow for each day, but that's kind of we'll get into that maybe in another. I'll link to a blog post there. I go into that. But on terms of like the day and the night, we've lost that connection to it. Think back in the day, our ancestors would have been, sitting around the fire. We are wired as humans to respond to sunlight, moonlight, and firelight. We're wired that way. That's what our brain recognizes. And anything outside of that spectrum, including blue light, screens, any non-native light, it kind of fucks up our hormones and our rhythm. And so as the sun sets, naturally our sleep hormone starts to rise, our capacity to digest food and information starts to decline. But if we are like bombarding our brains and our eyes with artificial light, even as the sun goes down, the body gets confused, and it's like, okay, it's high noon, sun's high in the sky, I need to keep producing cortisol. So true. So this is it kind of, we can look at so many different cycles to help us slow down and make a sustainable schedule. I think the day and the night one is a really good place to start, but then again, like the weekly flow, and then thinking about like your monthly flow. So we can either look at, or we can look at both. We can look at our menstrual cycle, and then we can also look at the moon cycle, like moon in the sky. And this is something I'm really passionate about sharing as well, is how to use those lunar cycles, whether it's the moon in the womb or the moon in the sky, how to use those rhythms to create a sustainable schedule. Because we shouldn't be, not like men run on a 24-hour clock. And so their hormones go in that 24-hour cycle just like the sun does. Whereas women are lined up with the moon, and so we have a 28-day cycle, hormonal cycle, just like the moon does. And so naturally our energy fluxes and flows through those different parts of the menstrual cycle. And we shouldn't be working week in, week out in the same fashion, because our energy doesn't support that. So this is like, there's so many different ways that we can like bring in the Ayurvedic teachings, but it's all about coming back to nature. Nature's always the default.
I have another question for you. What about doshas? So like there's the 3 doshas. Can you tell us a little bit more about that, and also how that can help us in knowing our dosha?
Oh, for sure. So the doshas are probably the most common entry point into Ayurveda, I think. It's usually the place where most people start. So you might already be familiar with these words, or maybe you know what your dosha is. If you don't know what your dosha is, on my website, on the homepage, there's a little quiz that you can do. It's called Discover Your Dosha. So if you're not sure what you are and this information sounds intriguing in any way, go over and do the quiz and you'll know what you are. But basically we have 3 different doshas. So there's Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. And each of these doshas have different qualities to them. They're all attached to a natural element, meaning earth, water, fire, air. And so by understanding what your dosha is, you can also understand how you work best. So for example, someone that is a vata dosha is usually more of the creative, free-spirited, go with the flow, kind of inspired, tuned in, cosmically up here type of person. Ideas and inspiration are like very easy to tap into for the vata dosha. All of the doshas have their pros and cons though. So, for the vata person, we might feel easily anxious or overwhelmed or scattered and basically ungrounded because it's connected to the air element. Hopefully this doesn't get confusing, but it's connected to air and wind and space. So kind of all of this up here stuff. The tendency is if we get too much vata happening, we get ungrounded and we feel disconnected and kind of like all over the place.
Yes.
And it can be very
scattered. That
one. Yeah, me too. So I think particularly for yogis, we gravitate towards yoga as a vata dosha person because it is like kind of that spiritual, inspiring practice. Anyway, then we have pitta connected to the fire element. And so you can see it very simply. Pitta dosha is that kind of fiery person, the person that's really focused, go-getter, motivated, super like that warrior energy. They can just go forward and get shit done. And in our culture, we love that quality. Yeah. That's like, wow, they're doing so well. They're doing all of these things. And we need that too. But the tendency for pitta could be literally to burn out. Yeah. To get too much fire, to do too much, and that feeling of there's just not enough hours in the day and I'm never going to be able to get everything that I want to do done, and we just go and go and go and go and go until there's nothing left there's no
nothing left to give
energy there to sustain all of that doing. So we want to keep the fire in this nice sweet spot where it's not too dim, it's not too much, it's right there in the sustainable fire. In Ayurveda, it's called the Sama Agni, which means literally the sustainable fire. But then we have the Kapha dosha. And Kapha, the personality is usually more of a like supportive, nurturing, compassionate, loving person. The person that brings everyone together. Kapha has the power to unite and to bind us, to bond us. And so like everyone loves Kapha people. They're just like the sweetest, most loving people that always, take care of everybody. And of course the tendency there is to take care of everybody else and become depleted in that way. So giving to the point where you're just like a dried up old lake, because Kapha is connected to earth and water. So both of those natural elements. And so they're that earthy, grounded person. I always think of Oprah as being like the poster child for Kapha. She has that like, oh, you just want to like give her a hug and like she's so cozy. So anyway, they're the three doshas. But if you have like even a very basic understanding of what your dosha is, then you're going to be able to use that information to know how you can work best. So how to take care of yourself, like literally what is your self-care practice? What is your yoga practice? What does your diet look like? And then also like how to harness those positive gifts of your dosha and really like maximize them. So yeah, there's so much we could go into, but I think knowing your dosha is a really good first step of integrating Ayurveda into your life.
Yeah, totally. I mean, when I found out that I was part Vata Pitta, and then I realized that when my Vata was out, then that's when I was like very ungrounded. I felt very anxious, and that's again like that nervous system really activated, and I was feeling that cortisol more. There was adrenals being used, but then I through knowing what could pacify my Vata has really helped me to not be running on my adrenals and cortisol and feel more grounded. So yeah, it's been super helpful to know my doshas.
And there's different ways that you might recognize an imbalance And there's different ways that you can make a change. So you might switch up your diet to be like, for example, a Vata balancing diet is going to help you feel more grounded in, in the mind as well. So our food not only affects our like physical body, it affects our feeling as well. So if you're feeling anxious or depressed or even like irritable or angry,
yes,
by tweaking your diet, you're going to be able to change that state. So it's so cool.
So many layers. Okay, so if you could just give us three tips on how to use Ayurveda for self-care and slowing down. What would be your top 3 tips besides what you've talked about, our schedule, finding out our dosha, and then 3 maybe more practical tips?
Okay, well, I think the first thing is, discover your dosha. That's probably the first port of call. That's really, really helpful. And like I said, you can find the link or the quiz to that on my homepage, Discover Your Dosha.
We'll have that in the links below.
But once you know that, then you can start to integrate it into your daily life in really practical ways. So I always say, like, everything good, like a good morning routine actually starts with a good sleep. If we wake up or if we get up in the morning and we've had a shitty sleep or not enough sleep or maybe quantity but not quality, then the morning routine is going to suffer.
Totally.
So I'm going to say start with sleep, overhauling your sleep routine. And again, we go into this in Paths to You, where there's a whole section on how to set up your evening routine to follow that flow of the natural cycle. So how to help your body move back into harmony with nature by slowing down and bringing in some really simple like rituals to do in the evening, and how to best use that energy at nighttime. What is it good for? It's good for connecting. So connecting with ourselves in that way. It could be, maybe doing a meditation or a gentle yoga practice, or even just something simple like having a cup of tea or journaling. Any
gratitude
practice
is really good. That's
especially in the evening. So it's really a beautiful time to connect with yourself and also to connect with your family or your whoever you live with. It's all about connection. So evening routine. So sleep, take care of your sleep, and we also go into the details about artificial light and how to cut them out in a really simple way. Because we still want to watch Netflix at night, like we do.
And
just
sometimes
because
we do have to do a little bit of work in the evening.
Exactly, and so it's practical as well. There's ways to apply these Ayurvedic info that's super relevant for us in 2019. And it's not about depriving ourselves. If we need to work at night, sometimes that's the reality. If we want to watch Netflix, sometimes we go for it. But we can also do those things in a way that isn't impacting our health in a negative way.
Totally.
So I'll say that, and probably last thing would be, I guess, as a follow-on from your sleep, your evening routine is setting up a morning routine that you love. And that really sets the tone for your day. So if you have those moments in the morning to slow down, or rather than slow down, actually just be still for a moment, then that is going to cascade into the flow of your day. And this whole theme of slowing down is going to be something that you're much more tapped into, because you've already had that touch point at the beginning of the day.
Start at the beginning, instead of like rushing out of bed after hitting snooze a few times and like on the go.
Which is so me. As much as I've been practicing yoga for such a long time and integrating all of this Ayurvedic stuff, it's still a daily practice for me to not like do exactly that. Of, like,
totally,
hit snooze and then just go straight for the coffee.
Yeah.
It's a daily practice. And so we also, I think it's really important to be compassionate with ourselves in that way.
Totally.
So we have our structure, we have like the things set up that we know are going to support us, like having a good sleep routine, having a good morning routine, but then we also be like committed to that, but then also compassionate to ourselves. So there's a balance of commitment and compassion.
Totally.
Yeah.
Because things are not always going to go to plan, and that certain things happen at different times in our life, and it is just to be totally kind to ourselves, because that harshness that we a lot of times bring onto ourselves can also cause more harm than actually not doing our morning routine.
Totally. And I've done that. I did that so much, especially, when I was first getting into yoga, I was obsessed. And if I didn't get my morning yoga practice in for some reason, the rest of the day would be right off. And I would be in tears. I didn't want to do anything else. It was basically like the day was ruined because I didn't get my yoga in. And that isn't helpful either. So anyway, balance, all about balance on every level. We're balancing the commitment with the compassion. We're balancing our dosha. We're balancing our slowing down with the stimulation.
Because we do have to, we can't be slow all day. We do have things that we need to do, but it is about finding those times and those moments in the day where we do take a time out instead of rushing out of our bed and then on our way into sleep, where we've just been stimulated for the whole day. And that's what I talked about previously, where it's like we started the day off in a rush, we ended our day just stimulating ourselves, and we haven't had that moment at all throughout the day to kind of bring ourselves down, to lower that feeling of being switched on, lower our secretion of adrenaline. And then that's where it becomes, like I mentioned before in previous videos, that our new norm. And this is actually not normal, and it is going to eventually wreak havoc on our systems, on our health and our wellness. And it might just be slow. It is, yeah.
Not just eventually, it's already happening.
But then again, it's like these new norms that we're just feeling tired when we get up. It happens, we're feeling it, common. But it's very common, but it is not like the norm. That's not normal.
It's normal and it's common, but it's not our natural state. And it's not our optimal state. And so that's why I think Ayurveda is really, really helpful, because it helps us to have a framework of riding those rhythms of the day. So even just to backtrack one little bit, there's the doshas also flow throughout the day. So different times of day are associated with different doshas, different energy. So for example, like I said before, this peak period where the sun is highest in the sky from 10 a.m. till 2 p.m., that's pitta time. And so having that as a natural cycle where our energy peaks, we can get a lot done. But I always like to recommend that we kind of bookend that period with a moment to just sit and chill out.
Yes.
So maybe at 10 a.m. you set a little alarm and just have even 2 minutes or even 10 breaths of just being still. And then when you reach the end of that cycle, maybe at 2, then you kind of again have a moment. It might be going for a walk around the block. It might be just again breathing or being still, maybe listening to a meditation, whatever. But then you know that, okay, now I'm going into a new cycle. It's a different type of energy, and it's sustainable then, because otherwise we just have the tendency to go and go and go and go and go. So anyway, there's so much we could talk about. But
I think
hopefully this has been helpful.
Yes, thank you so much, Amanda, for coming here today and taking this time to chat to us about using Ayurveda to slow down. And so we did talk about so much today, and really, like Amanda just said, we can delve so much deeper into these rhythms, into your doshas, into more about Ayurveda. And so Amanda has created this amazing program that can, if you are interested, if something has piqued your interest in this video, Amanda, tell us a little bit more about your program. It's called Paths to You.
Paths to You is it's kind of what I'm thinking of as my new yoga studio. So as you know, I used to have a yoga studio here in Western Australia, and that was, quite a long time ago now. I think it was 3 or 4 years ago. But now I have created basically my online yoga studio where we have loads of fun yoga classes, loads of yoga classes in there. There's videos for all different times of day, for different doshas, for different moods, for different energies that we want to cultivate. And then there is 6 Ayurveda workshops. So we go into sleep, of course. We go into morning rituals. We go into diet, understanding your dosha. We go into sex and cycles of life, so periods and all sorts of stuff. And then we have the philosophy section, which is really about self-reflection and looking inside and I guess using these ancient tools and ancient teachings from the yoga and making it accessible and relevant for us. So it's all about creating a life that is full of meaning and purpose and passion and feeling empowered to do so. So yeah, it's a membership program, and you can see all the details below. In a really fun way. It's really beautiful, actually. And so we have monthly classes in there that are live, and you can ask questions and all that sort of thing. But if you want to learn more, we'll link below. It's called Paths to You, and I'd love to see you in there.
Amazing. All right. So yeah, a bit more Samantha Briatico. So you can find me samanthabriatico.com if you don't already have access to my newsletter and my videos and what I'm doing. And I also have some online programs that I have, Daily Doses Flow, tools to optimize your day. Again, these are like small micro tools that you can easily fit into your day. And also another program called the Weekly Doses Flow. So yeah, I will have all those details of what we've got going on for you. And I hope you have a beautiful day. And thank you so much, Mandy.
You're welcome.
So happy you're here. Oh.
Love
Love you, lady. Thank you. Bye.